Good afternoon, everyone. Today's episode is all about study tips and studying in Taiwan. It should be informative, so stay tuned. I'm Hadeel, and today we're joined by Alfred, which is the president for the student union, and by Timon, which is the head of academic affairs. It's nice to have you on the show, guys.
Well, thank you for having us.
Nice to be here.
You were so chill just a minute ago. What happened?
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with, in the spirit of midterms, how is the preparation for? You're so confused right now.
Yes, perfect.
This is a month after, so it should be midterms when it airs. So, how do you guys usually prepare for midterms?
So I was going to take this first.
Okay, for midterms, actually, I try to go some rundown from my previous lessons and also asking my classmates what we will have. Because sometimes I will misheard what my professor will say, and actually I want to clarify things that needs to be clarified before I start to study by myself. Yes.
So you don't ask your classmates because you didn't pay attention?
Don't tell everyone that, okay? I do pay attention though. Okay, okay. But I just want to make sure before I get started, because at times there are quite discrepancy where when I study something and it's actually wrong. So I want to clarify first before I put efforts in studying, and in the end it might be wrong. Yes.
Well, I need to.
Yeah.
It's kind of different from his, right? Which I have to do presentation because I'm in a tourism department. A lot of presentation, and being a leader of a group really is taxing when you have presentation, school activity, work together. So preparation was like lax. It was not there. It was just the fact of distributing the information to the rest of the group and getting stuff done. There was few midterms that I actually had to write stuff. It wasn't a lot, just like 150 words was pretty okay, wasn't too much. But for the presentations, you have to make sure that word fonts, everything is right, color scheme is good, information is well worded, source. So it was kind of a rush of up and down, even last minute, like the day of the presentation, paper has not been printed. Everything is finished. I didn't even, run up and down. So that was it was a stress, but it was okay. I think we came out okay. We actually had the highest grade, so that was very informative that I could work under pressure.
Which year are you?
I'm in year 3.
Actually, both of us year 3 second semesters. Yes.
Oh.
We've been here for 3 years. We're the same batch. So you're telling me that if you're under pressure, you work better?
Yeah, under pressure. If you give me too much time, I'm just gonna procrastinate.
Yeah.
I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do the day after. And then it's the same for me. I'm exercising.
Okay.
Yes, procrastination is.
So for you, because you do a lot of group work, so you have to study in a group.
Yes, I have to literally come to a group and sit down. It's not really studying where you have to know the information by heart. It's just that you need to have the right information grammatically right, structured properly, make sure you follow certain specification of the teacher, and execute it as like it's your work, but it's not technically yours because the information is so but yeah, something like that.
And you have to study. Do you study on your own or?
Most, because I'm an engineer and taking engineering classes, I usually study by myself, but sometimes, I mentioned earlier, that it's not enough. So I really need help with my peers. I ask for help with my roommates, because he's also from my department. In a way, it helps both of us. I could help him teach, I could help him, review the answers and question him as well, and also he could ask me, and we could prepare some quizzes, just for backup.
So how did studying here in Taiwan help you with your studies, like the major that you chose?
Okay, for me, engineering. Actually, back in the Philippines, universities usually don't have enough budget to provide equipment, and especially for engineers, because we need a lot of experiments during our last year. And here in Taiwan, one thing Taiwan is famous for is having a semiconductor, one of the biggest semiconductor factories in the world, the TSMC, and it led to making Taiwan one of the competitive countries to study in Asia, and it helps, for me, it helps gaining more experience and gaining more background with my course, as I say, per se, and rather than stuck in the Philippines. And one thing that I learned, and I learn better more, is learning Chinese, speaking Chinese, and using it in my daily lives. Because in the global economy, it's not just English. We also need to use Chinese. And one thing that will give me more edge in the future when I'm looking for a job is also using Chinese, and it would definitely give me more advantage towards those who will, yeah, exactly.
Because like even back home, they actually are starting to teach Chinese right now in schools because there are a lot of investors coming.
I came from Chinese school. I studied Chinese for 15 years, but still I didn't get to use it every day. And even though I studied Chinese for this amount of time, it's still useless for me before then. But when I came here, it kind of pushes me towards, and yeah, pushes me towards learning more. And it's ride or die here in Taiwan, here in Kaohsiung, because one thing is people usually don't know how to speak English, and one way of surviving the environment is to learn English. Learn Chinese. Yes, exactly.
What about you?
Well, for mine, I came here to study tourism and hospitality because, as you know, Taiwan have like a school systems where they're very competitive with tourism and hospitality in the outside world. If you look at like schools ranking, most of Taiwan schools hit the plateau for well-produced students. And another motivation is in the Caribbean, it's really expensive to study a tertiary education. Even in college, I had a secondary. I had to go to school and work because I wasn't from the background where I can have that much money to go to college. So it comes to the point where for a higher education after college, which is university, we need to find a school that is budget friendly. Which for me, I think that in Taiwan, the schools are pretty much budget friendly because as we have a term in the Caribbean, we say it's like a house on land that you need to take out to go to a university in the Caribbean.
Really?
So here it's way much cheaper and it's much budget friendly for me. And my degree, I find that because I was studying in the Caribbean for like 19 years, it took me a while to understand that if I have to go and do a university studies in the Caribbean, they're going to tell me about tourism and hospitality, about the Caribbean. They won't tell you about the broader spectrum because you've been learning about the Caribbean for quite a long, long while. So for me, it was just a matter of going out there and looking for new sources or new platforms. And people ask, so why did you pick the other side of the world? Why not a little piece outside?
Yeah.
I came to the other side of the world because family members was here, so it's easy to hear their scheme of how they studied, go about living life and their daily life in general. So I came here to study because it's much feasible, and I actually had a background knowledge of people who came here. So that was one of my motivations to come here.
I think probably the budget thing applies to a lot of international students.
For you, I was actually surprised that in Caribbean studying there it's a bit expensive. For me, it's free. If I study in a national college or university, it's free. So coming here, it's actually on my own expense. But for me, it's a bit. It's worth it to invest more in my education rather than staying back in the Philippines and not really get what I expect. Yes.
For us, high school is free, but college and university, no, it's out of our pocket. your parents or someone need to pay for that. They won't be rude.
Yeah, it's the same for my experience. But high school is also like you have to pay for it at school, because we're not nationals from the country itself, so you have to pay for everything.
Oh, that's so sad. So,
It's sad.
yeah, that's how it is.
Okay, for the next question, I want to ask about where do you study? Because some of my friends told me they studied in cafes, which is like, how?
Yeah,
It must
how?
smell good, but
Yeah.
I study at home.
Oh,
Yeah, home is the best place.
do you like studying by yourself or you have?
When it comes to like, okay, like tourism and hospitality has two sides of a coin. Which it has the one that travel service, and it has another part where you have to to interact with people and so on and so forth. But then you have to have an analytical part as well, and you can't really have much of an analytical part if you keep running your friends and you forget to actually get this information from it. Because I find that I produce much information to know much stuff by myself, home, even though I procrastinate a lot. I actually, when I get down to the road, I have like a lot of files and everything organized to know how to go about studying for my stuff. If I'm with friends, my friends will talk. It's a service industry, so when you meet your other service friend, you're gonna start talking. We have part-time jobs, so people start talking about their job. We never get stuff done. When stuff actually gets started, you're like, wait, the time is gone. We have like an hour before someone has to leave. So it's just a matter of start rushing.
Yes.
Right. And then with me studying outside, especially in school, I can't study at the library, I start sleeping. It's not happening. It will
and you
never
can't
happen.
eat or drink.
I can't eat
It's
or drink.
library
And I like
is
to
so
study
nice.
while listening to music very loud and have food next to me because I get very punchy.
Yeah.
Brain food.
Yeah, people keep saying you're very slim, but I eat a lot. I eat like 6 times a day. So I like food next to me, and I can't do that in the library. So I like to study where I can do everything that I need at the same time, which is your home. So yeah,
That's good.
So I study home.
Because my apartment, below my apartment is a cafe. And I've been there like almost every day drinking coffee. But I can't imagine myself studying there. Because although you mentioned it smells good, definitely smells good, but studying and focusing on one thing, I cannot do it. There are cars running around, people walking in and out. I don't imagine myself studying and also get distracted by the things around me. And here you mentioned the studying in the library. The library is a very good place to study, but one thing that I hate, you can drink or bring food.
Yeah.
And eating while studying for me makes me grasp more. It helps my memory, practice my memory as well, and lessen the stress probably. And here in the library we cannot do it. And one thing that I can, the place that I can study is in my room. It's the only place where I can eat and also quiet and get things done.
Yeah.
How about you?
I tried studying in the library, but
Yeah.
it's the same issue. So I usually end up staying back in the dorm.
Oh, but you have roommates, so how do you cope up with your roommates being around?
Basically, they don't stay in the room for that.
Oh, so that's fine for you.
So
Alright.
like you have to set like specific times for yourself to study, and so they're not in the morning, so I study in the morning.
Oh.
At
Oh
night.
yeah, I used to do that when I was in
Yeah,
a room with people.
We were neighbors before, yeah. I saw
Studying
that.
with people, like for like a student on dormitory and he's
Mhm.
studying in dormitory, yeah, that's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
Especially finding the time, because so my room was comprised of every walk of life. There was a Japanese,
The loud one?
yeah, there was a Japanese, there was an Indonesian, there was a Vietnamese, and every time we reshuffle, there's always one from every ethnicity. So I always have this one Japanese guy, straight Jew, so eventually I get accustomed to his time slot. But every time there's finals and midterm and it's time to study, he freaks out, and then he has to wake everyone up to stay up with him while he's studying. You can't sleep because he starts cussing and he's like, "Ah, I can't do this anymore, I'm tired." And then the next day he writes a whole paragraph about what he was supposed to be doing. I'm like, you didn't study. He's like, no, I just write this. So for me to study along with him would actually be impossible. One time I tried to study Chinese with him, and he took over my book. Yeah, it was a point where I was studying, and then it becomes where I'm just watching him studying from my book, and it was my book.
And he
So
was studying.
yeah, so that with studying on campus, like in the dorms, especially with 3 other boys, it's really hard.
One thing they noticed in dormitory 1, because
There's a basement.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
there's a
basement.
basement.
I think the girls' dorm also
Yeah,
have
the
one, the
laundry room.
basement. Yeah, the laundry room. The basement is where you could study, you could eat, and no one is really coming downstairs because I think they're afraid of monsters or.
Actually, I
something,
just
but
don't
it's-
want to go down there because when I go down there, it's kind of clustered. And
Yeah, it's a
I
bit
like AC.
claustrophobic.
There's no AC.
Yeah, there's AC, but you don't know how to turn it on.
Yeah, you don't know to turn it on.
I know.
There's a fan.
Oh, it was my secret.
So I was there looking for the remote. There's no remote. I'm like, so how am I supposed to study
Just
here?
press the
It's just
thing.
hot. I'm like, I'm going upstairs. I was okay to study.
Okay.
Okay, so like you guys usually pull all-nighters then?
All-nighters, no. I prioritize sleep rather than staying up
Really?
late. Yes. My cousin, she's a doctor, and she actually one of the things that she told me was sleep is better than studying because in the end, it'll make you feel relaxed and get more in your head rather than being stressed and even though you study the whole night, and in the end you might probably get a mental block or something and it's useless. Yeah.
But because of your roommates, do you intend to pull in all-nighters?
Well, I don't live with my roommates anymore, thank God. Can't anymore because it's a lot. But I have one roommate and I do pull the all-nighter. So my roommate sleep very dead, like completely blank. And my roommate is Taiwanese, right? And he sleeps like very
Oh yeah.
dead. There's no waking up.
Yeah.
So I can pull all-nighters, and my all-nighters would begin where I sleep. Actually, I have to go to work. Then when I come home, I get very tired, so I would not start studying. Just go straight to sleep. And when my body wake up, I would eventually go and start studying, which will probably be 11, and then I have to take a shower if I actually start studying. When I actually do that, I'm like, okay, so I'm actually gonna be up for a long, long time. I go to sleep at 5. The exam's gonna probably be at 8 because I actually cram. It's not studying. I cram.
It's cram.
Right? I cram.
So okay, so we talked about like how you study
Yeah.
or like how you go about it, but like what are your studying strategies? Because, for example, I used to hear a lot about memory palaces or like space repetition. Do you know any of these strategies?
No, I just
They
have.
sound fancy, but
Yeah, it sounds really fancy. I just sit in the front of the class.
Yeah.
Just sit in the front of the class. For me, I have this term that I tell my little brother, and he do it too. So we're actually fine in school. If you sit in the front of the class and there's a teacher right there, whatever information he or she is spinning out of their mouth is gonna fall directly on you because you can't fall asleep. You know when you're in front of the class, you can't be like there and the teacher's talking. You can do it in the back, you can sleep, but in the front, you need to pay attention and watch every single thing the teacher's doing. So your mind is going to stay alert and you're going to stay awake. So for me, I just have this thing that I can just remember everything the teacher say. But if it's a true and false exam, which is usually a true or false question here in Ishu, then that's going to be a problem. If the teacher starts playing tricks with you, if there's a slight word off, like one of my exams, there's just the exact sentence was the same as the notes that we took, but he changed the color. It was supposed to be red, but he changed it to blue. And if you remember the exact thing, you will know that, oh, it was supposed to be blue. But if he said it in class, you're probably going to forget all of that because he goes through 100 and something slides per day, and you can't remember all of that what he said. But for me, I just try to remember at least the main ones. Especially a subject, there's subjects that the teacher favors. like the teachers are very passionate about this one chapter
Yes.
than all of the other chapters. For that one chapter, I study hard and in depth because I know that there'll be a lot of questions from that chapter.
What about you?
For me, I agree with Timon sitting in front because engineering is not about memorizing at the end. It's about knowing the things that what your teachers say and applying it in numbers. And sitting at the back will give you more distractions, as I said, than sitting in front. One thing I noticed is that you get more attention, you be more alert, and give more acknowledgement to what your professor is saying, and it helps me lessen my time in studying and more of just reviewing in the end, and also just reading. They also have some courses where it would be in business, and I agree with Timon. They have 100 slides, and I don't know how would you
Remember all of that.
cram everything in one night. So yeah, sitting in front helps, and also maybe just reading and reading, because if I put my head and my mind in one thing and put a whole 100 slides, it would take me
forever. That's
and
why I
it's
have the
one
best
course.
cramming strategies.
Just one course, and they have many subjects as well, so you need to prioritize and just read and pray and hope for the best, so you get the good score. That's
So
it.
prayer is the best strategy.
Yeah, for me. Yeah. Yes. And
Okay. So, can you guys give us like one small advice for those studying right now, especially freshmen?
For those who studying.
Yeah, right now, like freshmen because they're reckless. So for the
Yeah.
midterms.
Oh yeah, don't procrastinate, guys. Like procrastinate will not work.
it's easy to say don't procrastinate, but
When you do it,
yeah, when you
Well,
do it is very,
You
very
see, the thing is,
difficult.
as a freshman, when I came in, I wasn't procrastinating because I came
Yeah.
straight out of college and I came straight here, so I had the mentality of doing my work on time. But then after you stay here for like 3 years now, you get very lax and chill, so you won't be very on time for stuff. You just like start procrastinating as the year goes by. But as a freshman, don't try to do that. It's too early. You're probably your grades gonna like start plummeting even before you get grades.
Yeah, but for me, it's about location. We might take this for granted, but location is very important, where you sit and where you study. It depends on how you study, but in the end, it's about where you place yourself and how you compose yourself and how you do it and how you know yourself at the end. So sitting in front helps me, maybe it helps you too. And also look for a place where you could study, you could eat, you could bring your food and drink, and that's for me at least, yes.
I think that's it for today's episode. Thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe to our new talk show,
Yes.
I-Shou Show, and we'll see you around. Thank you for joining us.
Bye bye everyone. See you next time.
Bye.